The Leffer cottage was built in 1778 for Samuel Leffers. He was a schoolmaster. He came from Long Island, New York. An elderly gentleman had left a lot of money in his will for the town to hire a schoolmaster. And so Mr. Leffers was very, very lucky to find that it all sort of fell into place for him. Most important thing here, I would say, is the fireplace. You can see it's a big one. It's quite a small house and a small room. But the fireplace is very important. It's where they would cook and make candles and all kinds of things you would need a fire for. So Mr. Leffers had a wife, and she was a local lady who he married when he got here. Her father was a shoemaker. She was quite well known in the town. And they later on had 5 children, 3 girls and 2 boys. I'd like you just to notice the table here. It's called a hog-killing table, if you can believe that. That was supposed to have been used for that, but who knows. This is where the family would sit and have their meals. You can see we have the chairs with the basket seats here. Not very posh, just very nice, I think, for people to come around the table. I forgot to mention that you'd have a big one of these chargers that would be put in the middle of the table here, and then you would sit around, the people would sit around and have their pick from the table. They used their fingers quite a lot, actually. Yeah, big ball of raw wool here. Over here we have a spinning wheel, as you can see. In fact, we have 2 here, a small one and a large one. Very important. The little girls, the 3 girls, would have a lot of trouble finding time to do all of these things. They were kept really busy. They didn't go to school. The boys did, the 2 boys did. And I think one of them became a doctor or something, but that was much later. In here you would have a whole lot of these raw straw, I guess you would call that, really. And you would crush it and get off the outer casing. And in the side you can see these fine fibers, which you would use for spinning. And then you could use, once you'd spun it, you could do knitting, all kinds of spinning and needlework and all kinds of things. Just to mention, this is a deed shelf. You can imagine this is all made of wood. If it caught fire, you have a big fire, open fire here, it would be very easy for a coal to come out and burn the whole thing up. So this is where you would rush for your deed. A deed was very important to them. And we have here candle molds. You would pour your tallow in here. And then actually, before you did that, you'd have to put the strings in, which go all around the middle through here, and they'd be attached here. And then you would pour in the hot wax, and then you would let it cool and harden, and hopefully you would have some candles in a while. Okay. What else have we got here? Now, notice this cupboard. It's 2 large, very wide boards. I mean, they have come from large trees. I mentioned before pine and, well, mostly pine they used, I think, for the wood for furniture. Okay. Here we have a safe. I believe this came from England. It's a really very nice one. It's very old. It's 1600s, I believe, is the date for it. And it's one of the treasures we have here. Again, we have a nice cupboard here. This would be for anything you can think of, pots and pans and even vases that you weren't using. The blue and white check curtains over here were made around the corner here. We have a large loom. I'll show you that later on. We know a lot about Mr. Leffers because he wrote letters to his brother up in Hempstead, Long Island. And he described a whole lot of things that he did to him because it was very different from what his brother was doing up there. So we are very fortunate to have those letters to let us know what was happening here. You see these nice thick jugs here. They're pretty sturdy. This one is rather more fancy. And we have platters here. This platter would be put in the middle of the table, I mentioned before, with all the food on it, and then you would eat with your fingers, most probably. It didn't use knives and forks a lot. Nice kind of kettle here, I think, or teapot, I think it was more, we would call that today. And a very fancy another pot here made of pewter. Would you like to have a look in the bedroom here? Come with me. I'll just show you the ropes here because we don't usually have those very much today. These ropes are very sturdy. As you can see, they're knotted. And then you have all kinds of sheets, and you have a mattress here. This one has feathers in it. One of them has straw in it, I believe. And so the feather one would come on top of the straw one. I think it would be more comfortable. I'd like you to have a quick look at this on the wall here. It shows the buttonholes and all kinds of stitches and a tape and a hem. So if you could do all of those things, it's like an exercise for a young girl. We have a little crib here. If you're a mother or a sister, if there's a baby in there, you would rock it with your foot like that. Get the baby to go to sleep. We imagined that Mr. Leffers would have a space here for setting his tasks for the children. And so here he has a little desk, I can show you here. And you can use your quill pen. Here's a nice quill pen here. And with a feather. And he could be doing his lessons or preparing his work for the children. We have two big barn looms here. Years and years ago, there used to be itinerant weavers who went around from town to town. He would take all the pegs out, put it in his cart, and take it to the next village. It might have been quite a long way away, and set it all up again in a church hall or a house or a barn even. We do have a little attic here. I could open it. We don't usually show it to people, but it's where we think the children probably slept. You can see the lath in the wall here, and it's the big nails that they use. It would all be local wood, of course, that they used everywhere. All right, mostly pine. We have a very sweet garden here, and we have a group of gardeners who come. And it's particularly good for the 4th grade children we have here sometimes. They're not always sure where vegetables come from. They come from the supermarket, they say, but it's nice that they can see that you're actually growing beans here, and tomatoes we grow also, and other things too, yeah. Okay. By the way, this is rosemary. You must have noticed in the house that we have rosemary bunches. Rosemary is used quite a lot in cooking. Some of the things didn't taste all that great, but rosemary helped to tickle them up a little bit. This is the end of my tour of this house. Thank you so much for coming, and I hope you've enjoyed it. And I know I always enjoy telling people all about it. Thank you.